Buddham sharanam gacchami.
Buddham sharanam gacchami.
Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami.
Dhammam sharanam gacchami.
Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami.
Sangham sharanam gacchami.
Sangham sharanam gacchami. Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami.
Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami. Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dhammam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami.
Nadalame Jubenji, Shabjepe, La Duching, Kumbaku, Dozema, Dramayum, La Chase, Lo, Dare, Dure Soha, 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 Dare, Dure Soha. Dare dure soha, 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 dare dure soha. Dare dure soha, 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 dare dure soha. Dare dure soha, 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 dare dure soha. Dare dure soha, 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 dare dure soha. Dare dure soha, 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 dare dure soha. Dare dure soha, dare dure soha, dare dure soha, dare dure soha. Dare dure soha, gewandi nyudo da pamadoma tujunen rowa chikyam malipati sala gubarai sho. My dear friends, it is wonderful to meet you again. And we have been lucky during the last 15, 16 sessions, that every time we are able to start the session by taking refuge to both the Dharma and Sangha and reciting the mantra of Tara, who is the deity of energy. And now, since we have, I hope, learned this prayer by heart. It is so short. So not only this during this teaching, but later on, whenever you feel a little bit disturbed, it is very useful to recite this prayer to reduce the impact of the negative forces. Because as I said, Tara is the deity of energy, so her capacity to help others is very swift and quick. Don't have to go through the bureaucratic processes. And then we have also been reciting the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, Om Mani Padme Hum, which I briefly explained earlier, which entails the essence of all the teachings of the Buddha, and primarily the focus of all the teachings of the Buddha is cultivation of compassion. And Avalokiteshvara is the embodiment of compassion. And compassion is one quality without which the world cannot survive. It's not a question of having a luxurious item. It's really a question of survival. Imagine a world where there is no love, where there's no compassion. It's really, like, to make a long story short, the very purpose of human existence, human life, is to live in love, to express love, to show love, and to experience love and compassion. That is the essence, to make a long story short. Even if you're unable to know all the details of the complicated Buddhist philosophy, but you should catch the essences of some of those profound teachings, which boils down to development of compassion and wisdom, or bodhicitta and wisdom. So therefore, we are very lucky to remind ourselves during every session about the importance of compassion and visualization of Avalokiteshvara. So in the previous session, we discussed a little bit about the importance of practice of mindfulness on the body, which in a nutshell means watch the activities of your body, whether you are sitting or lying or walking. That's why we have this meditation, meditation on breathing, as I mentioned earlier. Breathing is precursor to all practices, and especially when we undertake this process of practice of mindfulness of body, then this breathing comes as a part of this mindfulness practice. Okay, so whether it's your verbal activity or physical activity or mental activity, you should always remain watchful and mindful. We experience many difficulties and problems because we engage mindlessly. We hardly plan, we hardly think, we hardly concentrate. We are just pulled by the magnets of the surrounding situation. And then just like a fly caught in the cobweb, we move our legs, but we are caught, you see. So difficult to do anything. So therefore, since one has to be the master of oneself, it's important to live independently and without pulled by the the magnets of the negative surrounding and negative experiences. So therefore, mindfulness means basically focusing upon oneself, one's physical activities, verbal activities, mental activities. This is very, very important. And last time somebody even asked this question, how can we maintain mindful? And I briefly answered it. So the next verse is really talking about that. So next verse 55, is saying that why should we be mindful? Actually, we read it earlier also in one of the verses where we spoke about a verse which said that human beings are not at all well, therefore maintain mindfulness. So here also, the reason that one should be mindful is, for example, if you are in a very difficult situation, for example, if you are chased by a flood, or if there is an earthquake, or if there is a fire in the house, your focus, your concentration will be immediately there. Sometimes because of fear, you may not be able to do it properly. Otherwise, how should I save myself? That is the focus. That is the concentration. Concentration will come automatically when you are in a difficult situation, when you are in a problematic situation. The problem that the reason that we are unable to focus, we are unable to practice mindfulness is because we think everything is okay. Therefore, there is a teaching in Buddhism which says, don't make friendship with okay. Don't make friendship with okay. It's not okay. Okay, just for consolation, you might say, okay, but actually not okay, Look at the situation of your body, look at the situation of your mind, look at the situation of the world around, I mean, it's not okay. So therefore, it is very important, not only in terms of spiritual practice, even otherwise in your life, if you want to have peace and happiness in this very life, you need to maintain mindfulness. So therefore, today in the secular ethics education, teaching on mindfulness is one very important part of that package, right? So mindfulness is very important. But again, the little bit kind of insufficiency is that these days, mindfulness and meditation is hitting the headlines of important newspapers. It has become a fashion. Whether you do it properly or not is a different thing, but it is hitting the headlines, okay, of many important newspapers, magazines, and so forth. But the thing is, you talk primarily about mindfulness, and sometimes you talk about introspection. But there's one whole package in the Buddhist practice where mindfulness, introspection, heedfulness, effort, all these four must come together, support each other, right? So there you need to do a little bit more study from Abhidharma, the higher, Abhidharma and lower Abhidharma, as we call it. You need to read more in the case of those who are really interested in it. Because what I'm trying to say is the whole purpose of a Buddhist study is to fight with this host of negative emotions. I'm using the word host of negative emotions. It is not just one. In the Buddhist teaching, it says, Buddha taught 84,000 classes of teaching to act against the 84,000 classes of negative emotions. Imagine 84,000 classes of negative emotions. I have even no idea about this. Many negative emotions. I also have no idea about each and every of these 84,000 classes of teaching. But whatever be the case, what he's really saying is there's so many aspects of negative emotions. And that is what Shantideva discusses in his Bodhisattva's way of life, that negative emotions are many, negative emotions are elusive, negative emotions are cunning, negative emotions are opportunistic. So they will come in 100 different ways to numb you, to dupe you, right? To distract you. For example, attachment comes like a very good friend. Come here, I love you, I take care of you. Without you, I can't live. Very nice way. Okay, or without this object, I can't live. Without this new TV or without this digital, kind of machine, I can't, have my life. Things like that. So they are very attractive, come in a very friendly manner. Then there are hostile negative emotions like anger and hatred, which really says, go away, just get lost. I have nothing to do with you. I don't want to see you, you see. So you can clearly see that one invites you and get you completely sucked into that quagmire of attachment. Another says, I have no business with you, just get lost. So you're severing that human connection. So the connection for other people, if you want to really get connected with other people, it's not internet. It is compassion. It is loving kindness, which is really the glue that brings people together. Because our physical, if you look at the physical structure, if you look at the emotional state, you are made in such a way that you can only survive and live in the company of others.
So living in the company of others means living in harmony, living with love, living with compassion. So these are basic necessities in our life, right? So therefore, and what disturbs us, what destroys us is these negative emotions. I repeatedly told you this earlier, that if you don't know the length and breadth of all these teachings, it is fine. It is fine. But understand, at least get some understanding about the destructiveness of negative emotions based on your own personal experiences. Don't just read the book and, yeah, I read this letter to Nagarjuna's letter to the friend. Yes, I read the Precious Girl, and yes, I read the Sutra, I read the Tantra, I received 100,000 like initiations. It's not going to take you anywhere unless you relate it to your personal experience and see the efficacy of this teaching and see the truth of the presence of negative emotions within yourself. The problem is we don't want to see those negative emotions within ourselves. We just want to depict the picture that I'm a nice man, just like my face. In the core also, I'm a good person, a beautiful person. Whether you're beautiful or not, it's not the skin deep, but the heart, you see. And we don't want to go inside. You don't want to show your ugly side to other people. You don't want to see that ugly side even by yourself. So therefore, the bitter truth that is being taught in Buddhism is that if you want long-lasting peace, you want long-lasting happiness, you must confront these negative emotions. See their destructiveness. Now, for example, do one exercise, for example, until the next Friday, you can do few exercises. Probably I told this earlier also. How many are doing that or not, I don't know. Like we need to, for example, take example of one negative emotion which has a predominant presence in you. We have many, and it's difficult to handle all of them. But understand that one negative emotion which has a predominant presence in you. For example, if you're a very hot-tempered person, very angry person, very volatile person, then recall all those experiences in the past when you have you got angry and when you fought with other people. Write those stories. Bring these stories alive, and then honestly, with an unbiased mind, see whether these occasions on which you have become angry and fought with other people, which really brought many good things to you or many bad things to you. Be honest, even with anger. We're already saying anger is negative, but for the time being, just don't say bad. Be honest and then analyze whether it has been very useful in bringing peace and happiness in your life or whether it has really marred and destroyed or brought unhappiness and lack of peace in your mind. See that. That is called Dharma practice. As I said repeatedly, Dharma means to change. Dharma practice means to change, to transform, which means changing the mind from the negative to the positive, from the negative emotions to the positive emotions. So that is the test of the pudding. The main problem lies here because we don't move. We don't want to move an inch forward. In the Buddhist teachings, they say, when it comes to doing good, you are like a tired donkey, heavily loaded, tired donkey taken uphill. When a heavily loaded donkey, when you take that donkey uphill, then with every step, the donkey wants to look back and don't want to proceed. When it comes to doing something negative, then you are like a very strong boulder that is thrown from the steep slope of a mountain. Effortlessly, it will go down. So really, based on my own limited experience, we can read 100,000 texts. There's no shortage of text written by this master, that master. I mean, it's okay. It's a very good thing if you want to read. But then the purpose of reading all this is at least take something from each and every text, each and every verse, relate it to your life. Therefore, the Dharma text is said to be like mirror. The purpose of looking in a mirror is not just to find the spot on your face, but having seen the spot, you need to clean that spot, the dark blemish on your face. And if you don't do that, if you simply say, yeah, there is a dark spot and don't wipe it out, don't clean it, then the purpose of looking at the mirror is not served. So therefore, when Dharma talks about negative emotions like anger, then you need to say, do I have that anger? How am I fighting, confronting this negative emotion? Have I lessened my negative emotions in the past 10 or 20 years since I've claimed myself as a Buddhist practitioner? What is the progress report? That is the way to do Dharma practice. If you are able to lessen your negative emotions a little bit, it's beyond question. You don't have to have any doubt. Happiness will automatically arise. Peace will automatically come. Even if the whole world is in turmoil, you will not be disturbed. Right? That's important. So therefore, practice of mindfulness, introspection, heedfulness, effort, these all come as a beautiful package to confront these negative emotions. Right? The richer, you are, the more you will have to put a guard, a sentinel to see whether thieves are coming, burglars are coming or not. So similarly, the more you cherish to develop the positive emotions, the more you need also protect yourself from the intrusion of these negative emotions. They can come in any way, as I already mentioned. So therefore, you need to be watchful. This mindfulness practice, they are the introspection. These are like the guards to see who is coming, who is going. So you need to see who is coming into my mind. Positive emotions, then you should say, okay, please come have a cup of tea. Let us spend some little bit, 1 or 2 hours together. If the negative emotions are coming, say goodbye. I had enough of you. I made a big mistake. I befriended you for a long time. That was the time when I had no Dharma knowledge. Now I have the Dharma knowledge. Now I know who you are. Now you have no room in my mind. Get lost. That's the practice. So many of the great Kadamba masters, when they do the practice, they personify these negative emotions. Imagine them as a person who really, nasty or who really good. And the good ones are welcomed, the bad ones are kicked out. Stop your friendship with them. That's important. That's important. Even with human friendship, if you constantly find somebody bothering, troubling you, then you should stop that relationship. That doesn't mean that you lose your compassion and concern for that other person, but sticking, together with that person is not going to help you, not going to help that other person. So, and especially you're an ordinary person, you might be dragged into a very negative state of existence. So therefore, it is better to distance yourself from the influence of such person, right? It's not out of animosity or not out of hatred, but just to protect oneself and protect others. So therefore, mindfulness is important. In order to know this, the importance, the causes for important the practice of mindfulness is as explained in the next verse, which says, life is impermanent since it is beset by many misfortunes like a bubble of water caught by the wind, that one inhales after exhaling and awakening from sleep is wonderful. I mean, I use the word not wonderful, I use the word, it's magic, mystery. It's really magic. And after all, what do you mean by death? Death means when you exhale and could not inhale, that is it. You don't have to buy a special plane ticket or, things plan, cancel the tour guide or things like that. Just exhale, and if you could not inhale, that is it. And that can come anytime. That can come anytime. So therefore it says that this life is beset with many misfortunes, many harms. Just like a butterland that is fluttering amidst a very strong wind. Then there's no possibility for that butter lamb to survive because of that gust of wind that is going there around. And the impermanence of life is even more volatile and fragile than that. Impermanence means every second we are going closer to death. Every second, whether you're sleeping, whether you are playing, whether you are eating, you are on the national highway to death. And you cannot just rewind the clock and go back. People these days, scientists, they are talking about, going back and relive the life. I don't know whether we can do that. You see, at least for the time being, with every passing second, every passing minute, and especially in today's world, there are so many distractions, and it's really difficult to keep account of the days and months. It just goes so fast, so quickly. I mean, since the pandemic, now nearly 2 years gone like that, you see. Even when we are suffering, the time still, flies, right? So therefore, don't think that now is the time to relax and then there will be a time to practice. No, practice must be done right now. Now, practice does not mean that you, isolate yourself. If that is suitable for you, it's okay. But practice basically means develop a compassionate mind. Be patient, be cool, be peaceful, And now the more and more you study the text, you will find that the best solution to destroy or to confront any negative force is to remain calm. When somebody is aggressive, the best antidote is calmness. When somebody is calm and kind, then again, of course, the best response is calmness and kindness. This is really antidote for everything. Right? When your mind is calm, even if you are beset with many problems, you still will be able to maintain calmness because you'll be able to see this is another dimension of life and nothing is permanent. Things will change. Even if you die, it's okay. It's a part of the deal. You never came into this world with a guarantee or warrant saying that you will not going to die. Right? So once you understand that reality of life, there's nothing to fear, nothing to hold on to. These days, many people, they don't even want to talk about death. Death is a taboo subject. Okay? They don't want to talk. They just want to live this glamorous life. So today's people, especially the rich people, the wealthy people, most, who are celebrities, they live almost like the life of Deva. We already studied the suffering of Deva, right? The beings in the celestial realm. In the beings in the celestial realm, they don't experience the ordinary sufferings that we experience in the human life. But when they're about to die, different signs come that they are now going to die very soon. They are also able to see where they are going to be born, like animal or insect and things like that. Then the suffering that they experience is, untoldable. So we are like that. We don't think. We'll think, yeah, I lead this glamorous life, I do this, I do that, I fly there, this and there, everything is fine, Then suddenly I've seen number of celebrities, I've seen myself. I told you this earlier also. I've seen many so-called famous people or celebrities who hardly make it, many of them who hardly make it a point to see a great teacher like His Holiness Dalai Lama. But when they confront these problems, then they come to see His Holiness. Right? So therefore, what I'm saying is, when you really encounter the problem, pretension will not work. Pretension will not work. Then you will look around and see the solution available from anybody. If the solution is available from Geshe Lhakdor, with whom you may not have in good terms, but when you know that only Geshe Lhakdor has the solution, you will not hesitate to come because that is the reality. You see, pretension doesn't work. So what I'm saying is, we should not lead a pretended life. We should accept the reality. That is what the Buddha is teaching about when he talks about the need to understand impermanence, interdependent origin. He's simply saying, accept the way things are, accept the reality, and live your life in accordance with that. So therefore, to maintain mindfulness, you need to reflect on impermanence, especially death. So in this verse, it is really talking about life is permanent, and your life is impermanent, and your body really has not much essence to develop that obsession and attachment that you have right now. Right? Life is impermanent. That's what he said. Life is impermanent since it beset many misfortunes, like a bubble of water caught by the wind. Okay? And therefore, it's really like a magic and mystery that you go to bed tonight and tomorrow being able to walk up, wake up again is like a magic. Which means it's a very rare privilege opportunity to be able to wake up the next day. Right? So therefore, seeing this fleeting nature of human life, impermanence of human life, seize the moment to do whatever is good. Right? So therefore, in other words, it's saying is the main cause for achieving liberation is remembering death. That will really hit you at the heart. If you really properly think about impermanence and death, then that will give you the insight of what is really important in your life and what is not so important in your life. Just like you are moving from India to America. If you move, this is a small example. If you move from India to America, then you will start considering what is really important that I should take to America, what is irrelevant. Then you will see many irrelevant things which you will leave behind, give it to other people. So similarly, when we talk about this life's journey to the next life after death, then we will be able to think what is really important, not only in that afterlife, but also in this life. Okay? And the fact that life is impermanent is because it is beset with many causes for death. There are external causes, there are internal causes, right? Of viruses, bacteria, imbalances of the element. And in the sutra, it is said that there are around 80,000 channels in your body. That's what is explained in the sutra. In the tantra, it talks about 70,000 channels. So within these channels, there is movement of blood and drop means regenerative fluid. Okay. And when that flow of the blood and the regenerative fluid in those channels, if there's a little bit obstruction or improper flow, you will get headache, you will get backache. So when there is slight blockage of the movement of the energy, movement of the blood, one of your hand stops working, one of your eyesight starts failing. It's as risky as that, right? So therefore, or in other words, as is explained in Aryadeva's 400 verses. Aryadeva's 400 verses. This is a text that I personally love so much. So luckily, the English version is also available. So try to read that. So there, Aryadeva says, if you look at your body, it is made up of the 4 elements, right? Earth, water, fire, and wind. And these 4 elements are antagonistic to each other. So it's really like 4 ferocious animals being put together, like tiger, lion, bear, and so forth. So when these 4 ferocious animals are put together, so long as there is a balance of power, they will not harm each other. They will not try to pounce upon each other. So there is a state of kind of peace. So in our case, when we say I'm healthy, that simply means the four elements are in harmony. None of them has a dominant power. It's only that. When there's a slight disruption of the power of these four elements, you become sick, you become ill. If the fire is more, you get fever, things like that, right? So therefore, so this body itself is really like looks a conglomeration or embodiment of four contradictory materials put together. So how can you have long-lasting peace and happiness unless you know how to deal with it? And then also the interesting, idea with this is, just as this body came from these four elements, it will also, it's nothing but natural that it will also go back to the four elements. In Tantra, there is a visualization called the dissolution of the elements. It dissolves from the earth to water, water to fire, fire to wind, and so forth. And then the pillar light consciousness, things like that. And when it comes back, it comes from the clear light consciousness to wind and so forth. So in other words, we are produced the primary cause which produced us. That cause itself is the cause for our death, decay, and destruction. So there's nothing surprising that we are aging. There's nothing surprising that we are going to die. So understand that reality. And also there's no reason to develop that fear. Fear for what? If you develop the fear that, oh, if I die, I will leave my property behind. That is a stupid way of having fear. Or if I die, I will have to leave my, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, children. That's also meaningless fear. Because that fear is not going to help you, provide any help to you. But if you, as a practitioner, if you develop the fear, thinking that having obtained this precious human life, if I am unable to habituate my mind with positive practices, virtuous practices, then there will be, in the future rebirth, there will be countless negative rebirths. I will get stuck in the samsara. With that kind of understanding, if you develop some fear, then that fear will spur you to do the Dharma practice. So that is meaningful, that is useful. The ordinary fears that we have doesn't make much meaning. But we develop this fear because we have a very limited vision. The Buddhist text, it says, how many times you lost your parents? How many, in many lives, how many times you lost your friends? How many times you lost your friends? How many times you lost your property, And for example, if you simply count the amount of food that you ate, forget about many lives, just this life, if you're able to put together all the food that the dal and roti and chapati that you ate, if you are able to put together, it will be almost like a mountain. Imagine. There's nothing kind of surprising about that. Nothing to develop so much grasping and clinging to that, right? And then the fact that this body itself, the second point which the text is saying is not only this life is impermanent because of many internal and external factors for its disintegration, but also the body really has, in terms of its mere nature, it doesn't have much essence. So verse 56 says, know that the insubstantial body at the end, becoming ashes, dried, putrid, or impure, will be completely destroyed and despoiled, and its constituents dispersed. So that basically means the body, in its own level, doesn't have much essence. Because at the end of the day, the body will, now that means after you die, depending upon your, various system or custom, some people burn the body. So that means the body will become a dust. In some cases, they left outside and completely in the sun, completely get dried. In some cases, it will rot, it will get decayed. And then finally it will be devoured by animals moving around. So where is the essence? There's not much meaning in human life itself, right? So meaning that in the end, not only you will get separated from your friends, relatives, the many parts of your body also get dismembered. They'll separate it, right? So therefore, it is important to see that the body itself really has not much meaning. So in short, it's saying that just as the external world and environment is there from beginningless time, so similarly, the sentient beings also came from beginningless time. Now, from that perspective, if there is what we call as a future life, then when we go to this future life with our death, then you can't take anything with you. So give a thought about this. How many things you have accumulated and stored over the years. So when the death comes, what is it that you are going to take with you? Forget about taking anything, including your MasterCard, even your body. When you came into this world, you came with nothing, but at least came with your body. But when you go to the next life, even this body, if you want to take this body, then the guardian, sent by the Lord of Death and so forth, will say, probably you're hiding something in your body, leave it behind. There will be real frisking, real scanning, more than what we see at the airport. At the airport, with all those scanning and frisking, still you manage to take your body with you, unless you're hiding some gold in your shoes and things like that, right? But when you die, the frisking is so strict. The scanning is so meticulous. They'll say, no, I don't trust you, just leave your body, and then you can go. So I'm not saying that you just, in the name of, a practitioner, you just throw away all your wealth. That you can't do. You're still ordinary person, you need to survive. But what I'm saying is, don't be greedy. It's not good for your health. Have contentment. And if you have that capacity to have a lot of money or other things, share it with those people who are less privileged, who are in dire need of the basic necessities. Try that, even with a small, practice of giving a little bit of money or sharing a little bit food or clothing. Just do that. Just do that. Start do that. Don't think I will do tomorrow. No, do that. Just by doing, then you will develop that sense of meaning in your life, sense of satisfaction. Do that. I mean, imagine, as I repeatedly said, we are living in a world where majority of the wealth and the resources are used by only countable few people, so-called rich people. And these so-called rich people, they are like us. They don't have double stomach or 3 stomachs or 4 stomachs, They also have only 1 stomach. So what are they going to do with that? And because there's no limit to greed, there is no limit to stupidity. So in the name of being rich, they want to own 100 cars of different models. They want to drink from a golden cup, and they want to move on a golden, steps and live in a so-called mansion and palace. I mean, we are just feeling, I'm not jealous, okay? Because I don't have this. I'm really not jealous at all. But what I'm saying is, and I have no problem if you are really like happy and living in a nice house. I also want to live in a nice house. But all I'm saying is, we should know the limit. And I told you this story. Some rich people, they have so many social gatherings, in one day, maybe like 6 parties or 10 parties like that. Can you eat 10 lunch, 10 dinner, things like that? So I heard this horrible story of some people just going to one occasion, have something to eat, then the second, something to eat. They are full already. Now they have to go to the third and the fourth. So what they do is they go to the toilet and, vomit so that they have some space to eat in the next party. Horrible things. Then the so-called rich people, they go to a beach, and then their servants bring a trolley of towels. I mean, this is very small example. And then they use this new towel and wipe out their, uh, the water on their body, and then throw that towel, just one only. What sense is there? When such a huge population of the world is suffering from shortage of basic necessities. I'm not complaining, everybody is. There are some rich people who really have done many wonderful things also. It's a great opportunity. You have the capacity. If you have the capacity to share wealth, share. If you have the capacity to share your knowledge, share. That's how you can make your life meaningful. So when the relation, the connection between the body and the mind is severed, when you die, then everything that you have earned so far with so much hardship, none of this has any meaning. You have to leave everything behind. I think I told you the story of Alexander the Great, who looted in so many places, looted sacks of gold. And I was told that when he was dying, he asked some of his generals and other people to bring all those sacks of gold that he has looted and put all of them in front of him. And having brought all these sacks of gold, then he just spread his empty hand and he died. Meaning that, you see, I did all these horrible things and looted all this money. I can't take even a single coin. Right? But again, I'm not advocating that you lead a life of poverty. I'm not doing that. Okay? Only few people whose mind is really matured, they may be able to have that capacity to almost live like a beggar, things like that. But I'm not advocating that. Buddha also do not advocate that. Buddha always suggested leading a middle way of life. Your view should be, your philosophy should be middle way. Your conduct should be middle way. Your regular life should also be middle way. Everything middle way. So therefore, if you lead, that middle way, it's good for you and good for many others. Okay. So therefore, that's the truth. And then the death, when it's going to come, nobody knows. Now, what should we do? Now, some people, when they hear this imminent death and all these possibilities of getting separate from all your dear and near ones, from all the objects that you got so obsessed with, then these people, then they think, oh, life is meaningless now, completely meaningless. At the end, I'm going to die, leaving everything. So what is the fun of working, doing? What is the fun of even living? So I'm going to kill myself. That's the worst thing you can do. That means you have not understood the meaning of the Dharma. Because in Buddhism, we say committing suicide is also equal to killing people. The only difference is you are killing yourself and not other people. That's the only difference. So it may be maybe a little bit lighter, but at the end of the day, it is also killing a human being. So that is also a very strong negative deed, number one. Number two, that is not the solution. Even if you kill yourself, you can kill your body, not your mind. The mind has to go with all its negative tendencies, negative habits, and you will suffer again. So therefore, the only solution is that you should make this human life meaningful by doing the right thing that we have been talking all the time. And then through such a practice, you will gradually reach a level we are the stages of the path. That the Lamrim says that if you are best practitioners, then you will be happy when you encounter death. When you be happy, you're looking forward. And I heard His Holiness saying this many times. He does this visualization on the cycle of death, I don't know, 5-6 times a day. And he said on many of these teachings, he said, now I'm waiting with great excitement when death comes, whether I will be able to apply all this, you know. So therefore, the great practitioners, they wait with excitement. They're looking forward for their death, because death is nothing but returning home. Death is nothing but changing your clothes. You don't get scared by changing the clothes. So changing clothes means you're only changing the body. The mind continues. And mind continues, and if you're a good practitioner, then you are going to a better place. You're going to take a new rebirth, a younger body, more fresh body than this old body, right? So it's all question of understanding the reality, understanding the reality. So therefore, these verses are talking about the need to meditate on impermanence. Okay, so simply, developing fear that I'm going to die, I'll be separated from my relatives, is not the proper way of developing that fear. So therefore, if you're best practitioner, you will be excited, you will be happy when you encounter death. And if you're a middle kind of practitioner, still you will have no fear. Okay, and even if you are the lower category of practitioner, because you have been practicing, at the time of death, you have nothing to regret. Nothing to regret. That's most important. Okay. Okay. So therefore, you should arrange in your mind this process of practice. And then then the next verse 53, he's 57, he's giving some examples. Okay. Since not even ash will remain, as all things, the earth, Mount Sumeru, and the oceans will be consumed by the flames of the 7 suns, what need to say anything of very frail man? He gives some example. I mean, if you look at Mount Meru, if you look at the mountains and seas and everything will be destroyed. It talks about rising of 7 suns, each sun hotter than the previous one. Now, I remember His Holiness mentioning one of his teachings, you don't really have to wait each of these suns rising. These days you see around in the world, every year you see more and more fire, raging fires. And in this year, we have seen so many floods, destruction by flood, destruction by fire. So these are like the result of the changing climate or changing state of our life, right? So we'll be at the end of the day destroyed by, as I said, with our body, it came from the elements, it will go back to the elements. Similarly, the whole world, which came from the element, also will be destroyed by the elements. And this will be expedited, quickened with our negative behavior, right? So therefore, he's saying that since even the, tough, solid mountains are destroyed and so forth, and not even dust is left behind. So what need is there to talk about us, our frail human life? Frail, I repeatedly said this fragile human life. I explained this with the example of, the things that you send in the cargo in aeroplane. Anything that is fragile, you normally write fragile, handle carefully. So we are all extremely fragile, emotionally fragile, physically fragile. And with this fragility, because majority of us don't understand each other, so we judge each other, we mistreat each other. I mean, then you can see the immense suffering that is created in the world today, unnecessary sufferings and problems created on top of the actual fragility of human psychophysical aggregate. But we can lessen this additional suffering with proper understanding. Okay. And then another way of thinking is, okay, whether the seven sons will come or not, whether the rest of the world will stay long or die, whatever. But think about yourself. Do you have the confidence that you will not going to die? You will not going to die? Think about yourself. Start from there. Don't worry too much about other people. It's 100% sure you are going to die. And what is unsure is you are not sure when you are going to die. If you have a small enemy, and if you know that an enemy is coming, definite that enemy is coming, and not sure when it's coming, you need to remain prepared. So similarly, we need to remain prepared because this enemy death is going to come and we are not sure when it's going to come. You will not seek your appointment. Okay, I'll take you only at the time when you have finished all your job. When you have more relaxed time, no, it'll just track you like a lightning. Many people you see in the morning, evening you don't see. Oh, he died. And there is no seniority. Some die when they're just born. Some die just when they're in the womb. Some die when they're just able to crawl. So there is no place in the world where you can hide yourself. Not in the depth of in the ocean, not amidst the tall, secure mountains. Even if you the swiftest runner in the world, Olympics, you cannot run away from the Lord of Death. It will come. And anywhere you go, there's no place where you can hide yourself. So with this realization, it's not, unnecessarily frightening yourself. These are all facts, number one. So you have to accept the facts. Turning a blind eye to the fact is not the solution. Accept the fact. And having accepted the fact, then think, what is the best solution? Even if you're not a believer in future lives, at least for this life also, what is the best thing for you? It will give you peace, happiness, tranquility, and harmony. And what is the use of living a life? I'm not talking about future life, even this life. What is use of living a life where you have no harmony, where you have no peace, where you have no love, where you have no compassion, where you don't care about the environment? The most important thing for you is money. And to get money, you do everything. That is the unfortunate tendency that is there in today's world. But imagine you have all the money that is there in the world. But one few things that is missing is water and air. There's no air to breathe. There's no water to drink, but you have all the money in the world. What is the use? Therefore, it is important to take care of the environment, to protect it. Most important thing is not the money. So I'm glad that many people have now started talking about human flourishing. That basically means genuine happiness. More and more people are talking. And I hope it's not just talking, we will do something, especially with the younger generation. I say younger generation because younger generation, younger children, they are fresh, their mind is good, they're just growing. So we can teach them. We can help the elderly people, but they're already, in many cases, unfortunately, they're already broken. So it is uphill task to repair them. So instead of spending too much time repairing them, it will be probably more sensible to nurture the younger generation for intact. Right? Okay. Okay. Then the next verse. So therefore, the next verse is saying, next verse 58 is saying, O best of men, that means he's addressing the king. Therefore, you king, the supreme king, since in this way, since everything is permanent and devoid of self, and without refuge and without protection, and homeless. Free your mind from samsara, which is like the pitiless plantain tree, essenceless plantain tree. So that means he's now asking the king to develop this practice of renunciation from this cycle of existence, renunciation, because having seen that in this way all conditioned things are impermanent, and there is no self having inherent independent existence as we thought. Okay? And the fact is that anything that is alive will at the end of the day die. With anything that you associate, at the end you will have to get separated from that. If you don't want to get separated from your beloved friends, don't make any beloved friend. If you don't want to die, don't take birth. I mean, these are all kind of paradoxes. So in a way, all these problems that we are experiencing are invited by us because of our ignorance, right? And whatever you have accumulated at the end of the day, you have to give up. Therefore, great teachers like Milarepa, Buddha, they said, I'm very happy because I have nothing. Whereas we do the opposite. I'm miserable because I have nothing. Right? Because the less you have obsession, the more you get that freedom in this life and for the next life. And similarly, we want to become famous, rise up. Just 2-3 days back, I received a letter from somebody asking a lot of questions and saying that if you respond to all these questions, answer all these questions, then your name and family will be spread in all the Southeast Asian countries, things like that. I did not respond to that. I mean, that is their way of, I'm not against them, there's their way of functioning. But I'm not here to advertise myself. Right? I did not respond that. Right? So therefore, if the more you aspire for name, the higher you climb. As the great teacher Kung Kang Tempe Dome, he said, the name and fame, to go in the pursuit of name and fame is like climbing a tall branchless tree. The higher you climb, the greater is the risk to fall down. Whereas those of us who don't know how to climb a tree, we may look miserable sitting on the ground, but we have no risk of falling. So ordinary people, sometimes I really admire ordinary way of life. I mean, the famous Lady Diana, how she died, she was so famous that people were rushing, chasing after her in cars, and then she had accident and died. And then there are so-called important people who are surrounded by police. So they pretend that they are great, but deep down they have no privacy. The so-called privacy is not there, right? So therefore, the higher you go, the greater is the risk to fall down. And therefore, the samsara is really like the plantain tree. Plantain tree basically means banana tree. The banana tree, if you remove the first layer, you will find another layer. Remove that layer, there is another layer. Remove that layer, there's another layer. At the end, you don't find any one solid essence inside. That's the meaning of plantain tree. Or in other words, some people say the plantain tree means it will grow and give one-time fruit, and then after that, the tree is gone, will not give a second fruit. So therefore, human life is like that. There's no essence like the peel of onion or peel of a banana tree. Okay? So therefore, what he's saying is that your body is impermanent, which we have discussed already. So not only impermanent in the sense of a tree or house and things like, they're also impermanent. But the unique thing with the human being is Our impermanent life means an impermanent life which is projected by the force of negative emotions and contaminated actions. So because of that, the result will be more suffering and more severe. So therefore, every moment we are disintegrating with the force of negative emotions and contaminated actions. So we are impermanent, and therefore impermanent, and therefore also selfless in the sense that it doesn't have a permanent or inherently existing self. And they are without refuge or without protection means that when you encounter those sufferings as a result of your own development of negative emotions, even the Buddha cannot protect you. Buddha can only show you the path. Unless you take care of yourself, unless you do your practice and change your mind, you don't find any, we don't believe in a creator God who will just remove all your suffering if you develop the faith. We don't, therefore, we are without refuge. And then you are without protection. Without protection means nobody can help you in the true sense of the term unless you help yourself. And then without home or without place to stay means that you cannot stay in this one body all the time. This is not your permanent residence. You will die. And then you take a next life. That is also not your permanent residence. And in these days, then you move to America and then say, "Oh, I'm so happy I got permanent residence." There's nothing called permanent residence anywhere you go. But I mean, that is a different context. But from a larger perspective, there's no permanent residence. So therefore, that is what he's saying. Homeless. He used the word homeless. There's no permanent residence. And at the end of the day, human life has no essence, because sometimes you are born high, sometimes you are born low. Countless lives you have to change. So the purpose of this teaching is that unless you see the limitation of your life, you will not aspire to achieve liberation. And I had explained this many times earlier. Unless you are able to see the problems, you will not decide to move to some other place where there is no problem. Right? The reason people move to America or some other places, they think that I will get better education, better facility, which I don't have here. I have so much problem here because of that. So similarly, when you see these limitations, insufficiencies, or sufferings in the samsara, then the more you see that, the more you desire to get liberated from it and develop that veneration and respect to Nirvana. This is very beautifully explained in Aryadeva's 400 verses. All right, again, I think the time is gone.
Yeah. We'll take some questions now. Natasha, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just a moment. Yes, thank you very much, Geshe-la. We have one question from Dinara. She says that His Holiness the Dalai Lama during the last teachings mentioned that we can find firm support in the nature of our mind. I understood that it means that we can find support in the luminous nature of our mind. Am I correct in my understanding? And if yes, how can we achieve it or realize it in practice?
Going into the ultimate nature of the mind means removing all the grosser levels of thought, primarily removing the negative emotions. And once you have removed the negative emotions completely, then you will be able to recognize or go into that state of luminosity, or clear light mind, as we call it. So that is how you protect yourself. Normally, unfortunately, a clear example is, for example, now in our ordinary life, forget about clear light or luminous mind. we are also not even able to go into the sixth mind, the mental consciousness. We are completely submerged or distracted by the five sense consciousnesses. You use your eye consciousness, get very lost and distracted by seeing a beautiful object. Wow, it's so beautiful. I saw this historical building. I saw this great stupa. I took a picture there, things like that. Then you say, oh, I have been today listening to this beautiful Japanese music, Tibetan music, or whatever, your ear. And then I had this delicious food in the Chinese restaurant, American restaurant, whatever. Oh, I had this beautiful cloth, which is so nice, so soft, so light. I had this beautiful, comfortable shoes, things like that. So what I'm saying is you get completely submerged by the dictates of the five senses or five sense consciousnesses. You're dictated by the five senses, and your consciousness, you only employ the five sense consciousnesses. You hardly get any time to go into the mental consciousness. So that is why the teachers and the teachings, they repeatedly say meditate. Meditation cannot be done by your eye consciousness or ear consciousness. It has to be done by the mind. When you involve the mind, you become a little bit, you enter into more subtle level of the mind. And the more and more you increase the depth of your practice and the profundity of your practice, the more and more you go into the very subtle nature, very subtle, gross mind, subtle mind, very subtle mind. Right? So that is the process. So it takes, so in the Tantric practice, it talks about all this process of dissolution and practices and dissolving all the 80 conceptual thoughts, and then finally discovering that clear light mind, right? And then remaining in that clear light mind, which is not fluctuated by the discursive thoughts. Okay.
Natasha, no more questions? Okay. Anybody else? Neeli, do you have a question? No. Okay. All right, Kishla, Jackie, yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, thank you for your teaching. I was wondering, could you expand more on what Dinara asked about the difference? How do you know which level of mind you're in? How do you know which level of mind you're in when you're meditating? Like, how can you tell the difference between if you're in the mental consciousness
you need to
instead
start
of the core?
No, you need to start by doing this meditation on shamat and vipassana, calm abiding and spatial insight. Okay, so calm abiding means, this is a literal translation of the Tibetan word shine, which has been literally translated as calm abiding. That means your mind is normally not calm. It is tossed around by a host of, disturbing mental thoughts. So you need to calm your mind from the invasion of this host of disturbing thoughts. Calm. Then abide means, then let your mind, having removed these disturbing thoughts, then let your mind abide on the chosen object, be it the image of Buddha, or be it your clear light mind, whatever object you choose, be it a flower, whatever, let your mind stay on it. Once you gain that stability of the mind, then use that stable mind to analyze the actual nature of different objects of your focus. So that means developing. So calm abiding is basically one-pointed concentration, and spatial insight or vipassana is the discriminative thought, which analyzes and sees the qualities, the drawbacks and benefits and harms of those objects. So through these twin practices of calm abiding and spatial insight, you will be able to reduce the negative emotions. And by doing that, your mind will become clearer and clearer. The purpose of calm abiding meditation is to reduce the direct manifestation of negative emotions. But come abiding mind does not have that capacity to uproot the seed and the imprints of negative emotions. The one that destroys the seeds and the imprints of negative emotion is the wisdom, which is the vipassana. So these two must go together. So in this way, the more you lessen the influence of the negative emotions, the more your mind will become stable, clear, and focused.
And where does awareness come into play? Like it's just
Yeah,
the raw.
now when you, for example, do that, let us say this one-pointed meditation, then you need to employ the mindfulness. So job of the mindfulness is to help the mind stay on the chosen object. And then it is supported by introspection by saying whether the mind is staying on that or not. The difference between the two is mindfulness job is only to make it stay on the object. It does not analyze whether it is going out or not going out. The job of whether it's staying on the object or not is the introspection. And then that is also supported by heedfulness, where you are saying whether you are doing the virtuous practices or negative practices. If you sense that you are doing negative activities, you need to refrain from it. If you feel you are doing the positive practice, you need to be happy about that. So that's the job of heedfulness. So in order to have success in that, you need to make regular efforts. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much, Geshe-la. That was our last question. Once again, thank you so much, Geshe-la, for these precious teachings. And I wanted to say my own thank you, but then I just received a message from Katie. She just left for work, but I thought the message really summed up, the kind of effect and impact that you and the teachings have on all of us. So I'll just read the message out to all of us. She says, I hope to live another day so as to return next week, hopefully cleaning up my negative emotions a little more and be with you all. And she also says, how wonderful to inhale after exhaling. Keep breathing with compassion, friend. So yeah, I hope we will all agree with this message. Yeah. So it's speaking for all of us. Thank you so much, Geshe-la. This is how we feel. Thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you next week, healthy and happy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la. Continuous. Thank you, everybody. And may we please request Geshe-la to now lead the prayers. Thank you. Thank you.